Two Nights, Part 2450, a Tony Neal tale. I slide into the far corner of the booth to the right of the Southern Girls entryway, my back to the wall, a full view of the bar and its entrance while the closest television is out of my field of vision. Lauren sits next to me, Jean directly across, and Sean to Jean's right. Sean told Lauren he'd never been to Detroit, Jean says to me. So much for making memories. Well, I didn't remember, Sean protests. You didn't remember, I asked. How is that possible? I add, laughing. You had to be what? At least 3 years old. That sounds right, Jean says. We drove up from Indianapolis for one of Uncle Phil's barbecue chicken dinners. He was so grateful. He was, I answer, asking Sean, do you remember meeting my Uncle Jerry and his son David and their family? Of course, and Scooter Boy, your cousin Diane's son. I remember going to Michigan, just not Detroit. Is that where you're from? Lauren asks. I am. Jean's from New York. Both of my parents grew up in the Saginaw area. My mom was one of two children, but my dad had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Well, 5 brothers, but the first died as a toddler. Phil was Jean's big brother. Born about 9 months from the time my grandfather got home from World War I, if you know what I mean. War to end all war, my ass. Wasn't one of Dave's kids just getting his eagle when Kevin started with Troop 63? Sean asked. Yeah, Luke. I think it was Luke. Way too many family members with the same names. On both sides. Remember riding mountain bikes? Yes, Sean exclaims. And David making fun of our bike shorts. He called them weasel squeezers, right? He did, I agreed. Jerry's not doing great. Thought we might lose him toward the beginning of the year. He's your last uncle? Sean asked. Last anything, I agree, nodding. Oh, except another Jean, ex-wife of Carl's little brother. Those 2, and then no more from my parents' side. Jean still has her uncle. And a couple more on my marriage on mom's side. Just one blood relative, though. Just like you, she says, nodding at me and squeezing my hand. Changing subjects abruptly, I ask Lauren, ever hear of the Flying Tigers? She scrunches up her right cheek and looks at me. I don't think so. Acrobat troupe? Ha! I bark. No, mercenaries for the Allies during World War II. My dad's brother wanted to join, but his parents said no way. Made him join the Army Air Corps instead. Joining the Flying Tigers wasn't quite kosher in 1939. We were a neutral country. My grandparents got billed to go Army. You know what happened on December 7th, 1941? Yeah, Lauren says, nodding. Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Correct. They also attacked the Philippines. Ever hear of the Bataan Death March? I don't think so, she says quietly. Japanese did not treat POWs well. Torture, starvation, murder. Uncle Bill survived Bataan. He survived internment, but he was killed by an American. Lauren tilts her head to the side. I nod and continue. Toward the end of the war, the Japanese start bringing POWs in from the Pacific Islands to Japan. Figured to use them as human shield. They put Bill on a boat with about 2,000 other POWs and start streaming for Tokyo or whatever. But they don't mark the ship as a POW boat. No Red Cross. So when an American pilot sees a ship, he torpedoes it. Later on, the plane's pilot learns what he's done. He's so distraught he commits suicide. The funny thing is that the Flying Tigers had a super low attrition rate. The likelihood of Bill surviving if he'd been a Tiger, a mercenary, is way higher than Army Air Corps in the Pacific. And all the Tigers were exonerated and lauded for their service. I always wonder what it must have been like telling your son to do the right thing, to obey the rules and have him suffer and die because of it. Not that they could have known, but grief and guilt are not logical. Must have been hell to live with after 30 years. Sorry, I add. Little too melancholy. How's your drink?